At that time, we were in the Second World War, and most of the colleges had stopped all competition. And some of the colleges were deciding that they would, after a one-year lapse, would continue, and others decided they wouldn't. I came out of high school a 16-year-old and wasn't old enough to go into the service. And I had 4 offers, really. None of them in Oklahoma, because most of the Oklahoma schools had stopped all intercollegiate athletics. I could have gone to Auburn. I could have gone to William & Mary. I could come to Michigan State. And had I been old enough, I could have had an appointment at Annapolis. The Oklahoma influence was in all of it. There was Oklahoma people who had graduated from Oklahoma State were coaches in all those places. And they had sources of information in Oklahoma that would tell them who the talented youngsters were in wrestling in the state, and they all then made some kind of an effort to recruit down there. Finley Collins, of course, was an old Aggie and had been up here since 1929, I think, and had recruited a series of Oklahoma wrestlers prior to my coming here. And I knew some of those wrestlers, although I had not been teammates of theirs. They were ahead of me probably 4 or 5 years. But the Jennings twins and Bill Maxwell and that group were all Tulsa wrestlers, Tulsa, Oklahoma wrestlers. And they had been my schoolboy idols. I had watched them compete in high school when I was in junior high school. So I had an offer from Findlay to come up here. And what was more important, I had an offer of a summer job. And so I came up that summer and was the youngest sweeper on the floor at Motor Wheel. And went to school here on what was called then a Gunnison Scholarship, which was a tuition scholarship. Finley got me a job as a mopper in the kitchen over at Williams Dormitory and for our meals. And I think my room cost me $2.50 a week. Don Anderson, who was a former teammate who graduated at another high school there in the city of Tulsa, and I came up together. And Finlay had recruited us both. Don was only 17 also. And so we came back and wrestled an abbreviated schedule that first year. I think we only had 5 dual meets. And then went on to the National AAU tournament at the end of the year. And that was the only national tournament, national competition offered that year. And what we were wrestling were a bunch of, I know the guy I wrestled in the finals had been the champion before, but he was probably 35 years old.
Going back to your competitive career now, what match stands out in your mind as your most memorable?
Probably the most satisfying match was the championship match in 1947 against Bill Courtright. Bill Courtright was the defending champion in that weight and had beaten me in my only dual meet loss the year before. And he'd beaten me pretty soundly. He was a returning veteran. Bill was probably 5 or 6 years older, much more mature than I was. And the first time I went out and got thrashed. He beat me 8-4. And I was planning all the next year to get back. And I had found during the dual meet one move that really worked. He didn't know what to do with it. And so when we got into the national tournament, we've messed around, and finally I worked that one move, and that won the national championship for me. I beat him 2-0.
What was it?
It was an overhook with a spin. That was a takedown move. Overhook here, hook inside, kicked his leg out, kicked his leg forward and out from under him, and knocked him flat on his back and got on top of him. And that was the only point scored.
This has been an MGP Entertainment production.